शुभ रात्रि. Nobody says शुभ दिन. शुभ दिवस कम है. शुभ प्रभातम ठीक है. शुभ अशुभ. Yeah, so we नहीं ठीक है बढ़िया. So we have just warmed up to our syllabus now, kind of. Okay. So it just occurred to me that some of us may be missing the thread, and for some time it's good to keep the thread of understanding. Usually, as humans, we understand in patterns, and then we want logical flows. When we don't understand how some discussion or some aspect of something that I have to talk of, how it came to be, and then we feel we a little lost. So to some level of understanding, this is useful. So we'll maintain that in this workshop. But the nature of the aspects of living or reality that we are studying are linear or logical, and at the same time go beyond that as well. A simple example for that is when we say, I live in as a human, and there are plants and animals and material as family. These categories help us make sense of the world, of reality around. But the diagram of the category itself is not understanding. It's a step towards understanding. We use this to get to the underlying reality because all of it exists together. But we're taking it one at a time because our ability to look at the entire picture at the same instant is limited. Does that make sense? So we take the human being, we study the human being, and then we go to existence, and then this is the flow we'll take. And we can take any flow. Like I said, in this particular workshop, and probably at least for me, it's the first one in which I'm trying it, we've changed the flow to make it closer to the way knowledge is, right? So we're moving from what you could say is the root to the fruit. There's another way to approach it, which is to start from the fruit. What is the fruit? The fruit is we will have better relationships. So we start talking of family relationships and what the issues there and how to solve them. Okay? And the nature of this understanding or content is such that the explanations will seem very convincing to you, but then you won't be able to replicate it. When you go back home, it won't work. You say it sounded nice, but it doesn't work. So that's the limitation when you talk of the fruit to begin with. We could have started the conversation with health and prosperity. Because most humans, all humans, experience disease and deprivation. All humans. Okay? So it's a topic that is close to or can be close to or suitable or easily accessible to all of us. All humans experience some problem in relationship after they probably cross 25 or 26. Usually, in our day, like I said, when I was growing up till I reached college and maybe till the age of 22, I didn't have any worry. I thought everything was really fine. And then, of course, as they say in English, shit happens, right? So your mind starts expanding. Things happen in your workplace. You may end up liking someone, and they may not like you, or they may go away, and all these things start happening. So that was another area we could have started with. Or when we are growing up and we reach our 20s and early 20s, our attention is drawn to society and its problems, and it will. Okay, but this is all the fruit. This is the fruit of, if these have to be all right, then this has to become all right. So in this conversation, we started with all 4 dimensions of our living, all right, instead of just starting with basic happiness and what it could mean. That's one. So I'll just write it here. So when we are using the term comprehensive happiness, it basically means in our just to distinguish, so the colors pop out in our material our behavioral, the intellectual, and the spiritual aspects or dimensions of our living, and it must cover my span of living as well as an individual. Okay, so as an individual, I'm comprised of these four aspects which are inalienable, which can't be separated. I may not be aware of all of them at the same time. Okay, sometimes I'm more aware of what's happening in the material sphere. Sometimes when I'm in a, conversing with somebody or having a problem, at that time you really don't remember that you have diabetes and you have hypertension. You're just fighting or having a good time, as the case may be. So when we're in the behavioral aspect of our living, we tend to forget the shape and size of the body, right? The weight of the body doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're overweight or underweight. You're just in that relationship, right? When we are in the intellectual space, for example, when we're trying to grapple with a problem like we are right now, then we're not really aware of the person next to you and what they said to you yesterday or the state of the body. As long as the body is in a state of rest, we really shifted here. Okay, and similarly also with the spiritual dimension. So this is at the individual. So every individual human being has this. And so this really is our expanse of living. This is the scene of living for every individual, the way a person will see it. And there is a state of being in each one of them. All right. And these put together comprise what we are calling as comprehensive happiness. All right. So that includes happiness. There is peace, there is contentment, and then we have bliss. So I just wanted to make sure that we have that in mind. That's where we started the conversation, remember? I mean, to get to this conversation, we started with the four dimensions. We first established that these are necessary, they're inalienable. Yeah, this is the sum total of our existence. They're inseparable. And we said that we want to sort this out. Sorting it is basically, I don't want any conflict there. If we don't want any conflict, I need to understand all of them. Simple. And what do I have to do? I have beliefs in each one of them. And we went through some of those beliefs. Right? We have beliefs to do with the material dimension, behavioral, intellectual, and spiritual dimension. So we're going to also try and uncover some of these beliefs and see whether they hold true. Okay. So as an individual, I have all this, and then I am also living with my family using my behavioral dimension, sometimes using the material dimension. Is that clear? In a family, sometimes like that couple, they're not here. Okay, here. So for that child, the primary input that the parents are giving is really material. It's not so much emotional. If you see, the child is not looking for that kind of, it's just clinging on to the mom and dad all the time. You see? I mean, just as Admi ka bachcha, langur ka bachcha, not much different. They're both clinging on to the mother and don't want to let go. My daughter's still like that. Only the frequency has come down. Okay? But the necessity still remains. Because we're here and, there's not much physical contact through the day, she catches hold of me in the evening. And she didn't want to get off me. Right? So so we use the behavioral dimension to interact with family. Similarly, also in society. And when we work with nature, we are again in the material dimension. So again, we have society, the nation or internation, and plus with nature. So this is my individual expanse, and this is how the world looks to me outside on this planet, on is Dharti par. So happiness, or my definition of happiness, my experience of happiness is spread across this. Within me is this much, and outside me is this much. Clear? So that's really the scope that we would like to address. In order to do this, we said, what is the understanding that we need? I mean, it's evident that we need to understand these different aspects. It's evident that we need to understand these different spheres of living. It is called pariprech. Pariprech means steps or stages of living. Alright? So we have two choices. Either we take them one by one and we address them one by one. The thing is, they don't synthesize like that. You can't understand yourself separately and the family separately. And auto log kari rahe. Yeah, you have, sociology is a separate subject, physics is a separate subject, spirituality is a separate subject. If you're doing BA philosophy, then the family is gone out the window. If you're studying science, then psychology is gone out the window. I see, na? When we study things, we are actually dissecting things and studying them. So if we were to be able to understand the synthesized view of my living, what is the knowledge that I want? Very simple question. We did that little thought experiment of going to a new planet, leaving the mother-in-law behind, very conveniently. Remember that? And in that, we understood that there are only three things to understand. It's very simple. I need to understand myself. I need to understand everything else besides me. Okay, the fundamental aspect. Right? I don't need to know myself. I don't need to know the number of hair on my head or your head. That's evident. So we're not looking at the peripheral, hmm, evident things. We're trying to understand the essential characteristic of myself, essential characteristics of existence, and my relationship with everything in existence that I have to live with. And what are the things I have to live with? Only two things. I have to live with humans and nature on this planet. I can't live with the moon. I can think of the moon. Some of us may be able to reach the moon materially. We're never going to be able to live with it. Can you live with the moon? You can't. You can make use of the moon. So अभी जो बोल रहे हैं moon जाएंगे, they're going looking for lithium. What will you have? I mean, how will you power the electric cars after you've finished all the lithium? Get it from Mars. So that's what science is trying to, scientific thought, or let's say technology or cosmology is trying to get to. Okay, but we leave that aside for another day. So right now, this is really our goal of living. So this, in sum total, explains our project at hand. So this is where we reached. It took us about a day and a half, maybe a little more to get there. And yesterday we said, okay, let's take up this packet and let me understand myself as a human being. That's where we started. We started with the human being, very simple question, what are mental or emotional needs and bodily needs? In about an hour and a half, we see that they are very distinct and both are needed. I can't have one over the other, alright, and both have different characteristics, which we covered in brief yesterday. So this is like a very brief summary of what we've done in about 2 days. The first day was just warming up, getting to know each other, so we get comfortable, and we just had some some specific discussions or random discussions on specific subjects like education, etc., just to kind of get everybody's views there. In fact, we spent the first day, 1.5 days, understanding that we don't understand and what needs to be understood. Itna hi hua, barabar, that we hold beliefs in each of these areas and we don't have the solutions. Most of us know the problems. We don't know what the solutions are. Okay? So, yeah. So if you all have anything to say, ask, add to, delete, modify in what I said, you can do that now. Our tractor is running again. Work and music. So see, 1C, 1B, production. So see what he's doing. I mean, he won't analyze it, right? वो आलू भी उगा रहा है or whatever. He's tilling the soil, enjoying the ride on the tractor, and also getting some music along with it. With music, he's trying to kill the boredom of having to ride the tractor for 400 rupees by listening to some music that he likes, that we don't understand. Sabka music alag hai. One of the most torturous times I've had is in Ladakh. 20 years ago, there was no CD. I mean, there was a CD, right? There was no pen drive and all. We had one CD for 13 hours, 11 songs, 13 ghanta. We were like half dead by the time we reached Zanskar. There's a place called Zanskar. We were like, I want to get out of this bus now. I can't take it anymore. रट गया था सारा गाना. पूरा दिन चलाता है वो. It just keeps going. He takes it out, pushes it back in. Oh, Baba. Chadar trek. I didn't do the Chadar trek. I just went to Zanskar, stayed there, almost died and came back. Huh? From the cold. My friend and I, we bought a very cheap tent in Pune for 900 rupees. And we set it out in the open. It was nice and sunny in the day. हम बोले इधर ही tent लगा देते हैं. So we put up the tent. At about 1 o'clock, it became so cold. And it was a thin tent, not even waterproof. We had these in the night. And I developed a high fever, a very high fever. And Yeah, my friend's father was the IG police of Jammu, and his father had told him not to venture beyond Jammu because it was risky. You know, police का बेटा IG का बेटा मिल गया तो हो गया ना. It's like a gold medal. You can bargain him for anything. That to a Sardar, you can walk, you can spot him from like a kilometer away. That is not a local. He's a big pug. Yeah, we were lucky. I mean, I dragged myself to some place and they opened the door and it happened twice there and at Udi near Baramulla. There's a village called Udi after Baramulla. We crossed it and we were caught by the BSF on the way back. I said, "Kahan se aa rahe ho?" And all that. And we realized we needed a pass to go there and we didn't have a pass. And they just let us through because they thought we were NTPC engineers. National Thermal Power Corporation. So the Maratha light infantry led us to, the BSF led us to. While coming back, the BSF stopped us and he shut us in a little cell for about 3 hours. I've never heard so many galis compressed in such a short period of time as I did at that time. So the Haryanvi Jat was yeah, that's another story. So anybody, anything? So this, we just covered this briefly. Again, we are listening to this, but you will have to reflect on it either now or later on. Okay. And then settle into it. So these are 3 stages. So we spoke about that as well, which is a method of study, which I will write here. I will leave the needs here for now. This we will need a little later. So I'll come back to this. This I can rub off. So in the method of study, okay. So when we read literature, sociology today, especially in literature, what we do is we learn things by rote. So literature is typically learned. You'll learn poems by William Wordsworth, Blake, and so on and so forth. Rabindranath Tagore. That's one way to learn. So some subjects are learned by heart, and that's what knowing that subject means. There are some subjects that need some kind of visualization. So, for instance, when you're studying history or sociology, you have to kind of picturize the fact that there was Shivaji Maharaj and whatever Aurangzeb came and this happened, that happened. So there are people and there are things happening in it, and that's how we are able to understand these subjects. There are other subjects like mathematics, which need basically you have to understand the codes and the logic. So math is basically logic, right? A way to use logic, logical representation of something. When we understand subjects to do with science, which is the study of the external world, material reality, what it looks like, how it behaves, and so on and so forth. So you first get a theory. You say this is angle of banking, this is the temperature, this is pressure, this is the force of gravity, and then we use maths to understand it. But typically that understanding is not complete without experimentation. So if you remember back in school, we'd have a physics lab. So you can see the hydrogen sulfide and smell it. You can see the hydrochloric acid. You can see that amoeba or protoplasm, from under the microscope. So the doing and seeing part was a part and parcel of understanding. Okay? But all these things are to do with the material dimension of life. Alright. So when we want to understand matter or nature, these are the techniques we employ. When you want to understand language, we employ memory, right? When we want to understand what humans have done to each other so far in history, or how they live together in sociology. If you remember, we had a slide where I had put up all the subjects under each one of the aspects of living. You remember there was physics, chemistry, maths in one place, and I had psychology in one place. And you remember that? It was blue and green and pink and tricolored slide. But you'll anyways get the slide. But what method of study do we employ when we have to understand ourselves? You can't put yourself under a microscope. So basically it's self-scrutiny. There's no other way. If I ask a question, do you think? You have to observe yourself and the answer is whether you think or not. Sorry? Yeah, so we won't use the word introspection because here we will also use extrospection. We don't want to just understand ourselves, we also want to understand everything else besides me. For instance, when I'm studying external reality, let's say I'm studying the density of a liquid. I'm looking at the liquid, right, and I'm whatever experimenting with it. Who is understanding it? I'm understanding. The liquid is not understanding itself. So there is a seer. है ना देखने वाला जो है is central to the seeing. The process of seeing, the देखने वाला is central to it. Number one. Where is the understanding happening? In the liquid, between me and the liquid, or inside me? Inside me. Because the liquid was anywhere there even before. It's just that we could not understand it. We did not understand hydraulics. Hydraulics always existed. We didn't know how water flowed. We didn't know the density of water. We didn't know at what force water should fall to be able to rotate a turbine and generate electricity. It took us like 6,000 years to get there. So even when we're looking at existence, we are understanding it inside me. We're observing it outside, but the understanding is happening inside me. When I'm interacting with you, all right, what do you think is happening when I'm, let's say, behaving with you, or when you have a relationship, or any kind of contact, a behavioral contact with any other human being? Uh, what's really happening is what is already inside me is what is getting expressed. If there is goodness inside me, goodness is going to get expressed. If there is conditional goodness inside me, conditional goodness will get expressed. As in, as long as you're fine, I'm fine. If you trouble me, then I'm going to be very bad. If you scratch me, I'm going to kick you. If you don't do anything, I'm going to be good. So each one of us has these condition settings. So really, if you look at all these three areas, we find that all of this is really happening inside me. Okay, and we'll get to more of that over the next few days. But for now, hence, what do we need to do? Number one, A, we had that slide. It said, listen without bias. Now, this is important and really hard to do, especially for people who are much older or people who have read or already formed many opinions about many things. We had this on a slide, so you have it. So if you want to, you can write it again. And then the B was reflect on it, or verify it. And how do we do it? We do the verification in 4 steps. And it's very simple. We've already been doing some part of this on the first day without my even saying that you have to do it. It's already been happening. We're just putting it out there so we know this is what needs to be done. And also, when we deviate, we'll use this to come back and see whether, we are still on the right track. So the first step is called scrutinize. The second step is called examine. Yeah, like in an examination, right? They check what you know. So that's how you examine. That's what's called an examination. The third is called survey. And the fourth is called live or implement. I know it's a little long. I wish it could have been shorter, but it is that long. Because for humans, all these are needed. Alright. What comes under scrutinization? Very simple, not very difficult. Number one, for everything that I'm saying, any proposal that we've listened to regarding the self, you have to observe yourself. Any proposal to do with existence, you have to check whether it is real or so in existence. Anything to do with relationship or human nature, you have to check, is this naturally. So another word that you can hear is real or natural. Okay. Like when I say that a neem tree has neemness in it, you have to check in nature. You can't be looking within to see whether the neem tree has neemness. Does that make sense? अंदर नहीं मिलेगा ना नीम ट्री बाहर है is reflected onto me, so I have to see. I have to understand the neem, so I have to look outside. Naturally acceptable. Okay. When you examine it, what happens? So let's say I say you think, so you identify that I think, and then you have to rotate it in various dimensions. What does thought look like? I look around. Okay. I look around to examine thought. So what really happens? Observe yourself via self-scrutiny. Every proposal to do with existence, like for instance, when we spoke of the needs of mental and bodily needs, did you have to ask anybody? Did you have to look outside? Did you have to ask your neighbor? Or did it just come from your own self-scrutiny? This exercise that we just did last evening, where did you have to do the study? Within. You just have to reflect on it and you get the answer. You don't have to refer to a book. You don't have to think of what they taught us in grade 12. We don't have to do any of that. Right? Yeah? So that is observing myself in existence, whether it is so. For instance, I have written material, plants and animals. There can be another way of classification. This is one way of classification, and you find, yeah, there is matter, there are plants and there are animals, and they seem to be fine. Overall, we know that the lion is hunting the hiran, what is it, the gazelle, but we'll get to that. I mean, whether that's chaos or whether that's order or not. But really, when we're looking at existence, we're looking outside. When we're looking at my swabhav, how I am, things to do with my nature, do I want to be a good person, a bad person? Is assurance acceptable to me, or lack of, or fear acceptable to me? Is respect or disrespect? Then I find what is naturally acceptable to me. I cannot locate respect inside me, but I know that I find respect acceptable. I can locate thought. I don't know where it is, but I know there is thinking. You see a car and then you think of the car. And then you evaluate, can I afford this car? And then you feel bad that I cannot afford this car. These are very distinct steps that we go through. All of us experience this. You can see these things. See as in recognize the event happening. Whereas when you have to see a neem tree, you can see the form. It has form. You can see another person, but the dislike of the person is not seen. That's a non-material feeling that I have. And if I ask, are you better off liking or disliking? The answer is liking. In the long run, in the short run, kai baar disliking acha lagta hai. It feels good to shout at somebody and give it back to them. In the short term, yeah. But in the really long term, if you see, how am I better off? I'm better off, respecting or having affection for people. So this really are the three aspects. So then we have examination. We basically check. So when we scrutinize, we check whether this is universal. That's what we're checking. Is this true? Is the proposal true? When we examine, we check, is it holistic? Is it all put together or is it all, fragmented? Because we anyway have enough fragmented subjects. You go up to Wikipedia and you just put in philosophy, branches. Patas dikhata hai. Each branch may PhD ho sakta hai. So there's 50 PhDs in one subject. And there may be 50 subjects. List of subjects follow. Kya karata hai? You open physics, you'll get theoretical physics. Right? It's a long list. There's cosmology, astronomy, astrology. बहुत लंबा list है. Mathematics, calculus, differential calculus, statistics, algebra, geometry, arithmetic. What we want is this whole thing representing my holistic experience of living as a human being? Is the entire thing consistent? Is it holistic? Is it consistent? This is something you are anyways checking. है ना? Otherwise, ये आपके अंदर वैसे भी हो ही रहा है. Why? Because Otherwise, you would have interrupted me and said, you said this on the second day, but you're saying this on the fourth day. It doesn't connect. Or you left this out. Alright. So, is it holistic? Is it consistent? Is it complete? Is what we will be checking. Is it complete? When we survey, is it so for all humans? So we basically check, is this universal or does it only apply to me? So if you recollect, once in a while I ask this query, is this true only for you or for all humans? Like this chart that we have here, is it for all humans or only for Indians? Or only for Dharwadians? All humans. For all time. Okay. And lastly, which you cannot do during the workshop, but you'll have to try and do after you get back home, is live according. So what do you do when I find that this is the answer, this is what is naturally acceptable to me, I go ahead and I behave that way with people and with nature. Alright? And I check whether this is complementary here. Because I want to be complementary. Why do I want to be complementary? Because it causes me to feel good. And I want to feel good. That is happiness. मेरे को अच्छा लगता है, मैं भी हूँ वो भी है, that feels better than मैं हूँ वो नहीं है. ठीक है? We've taken this as a slide, but थोड़ा सा we all got a little, spaced out by then, so I thought I'll just bring it up. So this is where we reached. So right now, for this section of our discussion, this is what we're going to do. For this section of our discussion, this is what we'll do. For this section of the discussion, this is what we'll do. When all of this put together, and while it is happening, you will also be checking this. Barabar? And we'll also be seeing whether it is universal, and so on and so forth. And there were like these 15 criteria that I put for understanding. Remember? Understanding has to be universal, it has to be timeless, it has to be livable, it should lead to joy, it should be perennial, it should be rational, it should be holistic. 12-15 किया था ना? Remember? Not remembering all of them. Remember कि वो बात हुआ था. बस उतना ही. मुझे भी याद नहीं all 15. है ना? मैं हट के थोड़ी बैठा हूँ. I don't remember all of them. Maybe if you concentrate, it comes out. Cool. So this is where we reached. So it took us about half an hour to recap. We have to slow ourselves. Yeah. Things happen in a fraction of a second. Yeah, which is why this is not a quick release system. I put it in the workshop invitation. I thought I'll make a small note. Now I've kind of expanded the note. First somebody said, in fact, Bhaiya said बहुत लंबा है और भी लंबा हो गया. It become 25 slides now. Because first I made a document and then I realized actually people read it on the phone. Actually when you send a PDF, people don't have the patience to sit and pinch. So much comes on the phone. So then somebody had sent something in a PowerPoint, so I had to put it into a PowerPoint so you don't have to pinch and zoom to read it. So one of the things I wrote there was no quick relief promises. है ना? करो and you'll become happy. नहीं होने वाला है. You may get rid of your sinus. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. We'll have to apply ourselves. Yeah. And we'll talk a little more of that on the last day on what you can do and what you need to do, what you may want to do, and if you want to do, how you need to do it on the last day, on what the method of study, how you can, continue with it after you go back. Take that wireless mic because we. Last chance to be on YouTube. Like when we approach things, on भी करना है. Yeah. Yeah. When we approach things like this is a pattern of study. ಆನ್ ಅದೆಯಾ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆನ್. No, just tap on it. Is it giving you sound? Yeah, it's good. The volume is low. Okay, Boli, he'll get it. Yeah, because he's wired to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. You said we need to slow down. That's
Yeah,
there you
like
are.
this pattern. It's okay. Okay, we have to slow down a little bit to apply this method or this pattern. So when we approach things, a person who don't know anything about this method or any pattern or anything, but by naturally he's slow. Little like he approaches it slow only. My grandmother, my like those people doesn't need to jump into things and conclude on anything. Their way of work or way of discussion or listening, implementing things, cooking in the kitchen, cleaning in the kitchen, whatever, every daily things they approach simply slow only. So that's why they don't know anything about these kind of things. So when we are naturally slow, which means it's advantages, right? When it means like if you approach slow, half of the problem is solved. Can you say like that?
No, it's better than being not deliberate. So by slow, I think what you mean is being deliberate. I mean, deliberating on things before doing them. Sometimes we are not thinking about what we are doing and why we are doing it, and not sometimes. Some of us are that way, and there are some of us who are slower in the sense that they're able to see things and deliberate on an action and its results before go ahead and doing it. Oftentimes we do things and we say, I should have thought of this before, right? Which means we did not deliberate on the result of our action before doing it. For instance, there's this whole war happening in the Middle East, right? Whatever, some people are calling it a genocide, whatever it is. So some commentators are saying, has Israel really thought through what they're going to do after the Hamas are gone? Let's assume the Hamas have they thought through it, and they're saying they haven't thought through it because it hit them and they were so hurt on that day they just decided to go all out. Right, based on, I mean, they're not, the world media is not there. Some of the gory details come out. Um, so that's, I mean, so deliberating on your actions before doing it is definitely advantageous, but that automatically doesn't mean that you will do this. You are better equipped to do this. Okay. And why do I say that? Because the appropriate input is not there. This is where you're getting the input from. All right. Now, if the input I believe in basically says that there is only one supreme reality and the remainder is an illusion, there's one kind of input like this in this country. There is one supreme reality and everything else is transient. Then what I'm going to do is take that input and believe in that input. And now I'm not going to pay attention to these two because anyways it is transient. So my entire effort is going to try and supersede these two and merge into this reality. If my input, let's say I'm very deliberate, I'm very slow thinking, but my input or my mindset is I need to make a lot of money in business. Paisa kamana hai. What will I do? I'm not going to be studying myself. I don't need to do that. I don't need to study existence for that. I will not care for relationships at all. I will be very deliberate in making profit out of people and the business. So our ability by itself does not translate into some kind of gain. It will translate into gain for that objective. So you also need to have the right input, which is really the right teaching. Okay. So teaching is a very uh, light term, but right now we just call it a teaching. Okay. Or the right proposal. The good word for it would be a darshan. Even if it is partial. So even if you have a partial darshan, that is basically telling you do not harm other humans, and you have accepted that, that part of you would be well developed. Simple. I mean, all religions have a little bit of this. We won't get into religious study. उसके लिए और 5 दिन चाहिए, है ना? We can do that, but वो अलग से बैठना पड़ेगा. Yes, so some religions say where you don't take interest. It's wrong to take interest. I think that's a good law. Money should not be allowed to multiply on its own because nothing is multiplying. Alright? So that's a good thing to do because then you're that better off. Mhm. A lot of the conflict you see in the world is also about how people see money. There were some people who were very good at managing money and growing money, and there was one group of people who didn't believe that money should grow. So the people that felt that money should not grow felt oppressed by the people who were able to grow money. Intoxicating? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, different kinds of intoxication. So we have the not just money. See, food can be intoxicating. 120 body count, sex is intoxicating. Okay, for some people, work is intoxicating. Work is worship. I mean, after coming in touch with this system, I met one of the good things has been we've been able to meet a wide spectrum of people that I could never have managed, even if I'd been in an NGO. इतने type के लोग मिलते हैं. I got to meet a lot of people from the Marwadi community. Okay. In fact, I didn't even know they existed before that. I went to a school, it was a cosmopolitan school, but you don't notice these things in school. In the Marwadi community, I found that work is looked up with so much of, respect, and they work so much, and they don't spend time enjoying it. It's just stashed away. बराबर हमारे इधर we had a kirana dukan. His name was Oza, KC Oza. He's come from Rajasthan. It was the only kirana store there in that area. So we would all go there and buy our groceries. So his name was Kanaya Lal. Okay. And he would sit in a pajama and a banyan with a pocket here. That's all he wore. Through his life. I never saw him wearing anything else. When I was in grade 10, we had gone to buy something there and my father asked him, क्यों? We used to call him Kanaya or something. कि मैं तुमको 30 साल से देख रहा हूं. I'm seeing you since 30 years. Your shop is never closed and you never go on a holiday. You're always sitting there and ordering ki chana de, aloo de. It was a big store. He started small, he became big, 5-storied house. Extended family, okay? He said, साहब मेरे को ना पैसा गिनने में मजा आता है. That's all he said. Not in spending it. Because he's not spending it. There's no holiday. When we wear, there's no time to spend it. KC Oza opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 9 p.m. And after that, he has to wrap up. दुकान को बंद करके, shutter मार के, he has to put the tarpaulin because the गेहूं is stored outside, the चावल. Where is the time? वो जो work है, उसमें intoxicate हो गया वो. Of course, KC Oza died. His son who studied BCom took over the shop. अभी Tuesday छुट्टी है. Son घूमने जाता है. Next generation has lost it. Correct? Son is still there. Son looks exactly the same. They still recognize me. My father used to buy from his father. I buy from him. Okay. So work can be intoxicating. So we have the ability to, there's something in us, some aspect, some faculty in us that tends to lose itself. You can get intoxicated in relationships. What is love? Blind love. When you know it's not going to work out. When you know you're going to face hell. When you know life is not going to be easy. And you still go against the flow and say, मैं इसी से शादी करूंगा. And then when you find out people will not let you marry, you will both jump in front of the train and kill yourself. You can. Tamil Nadu is very famous, very dramatic, melodrama, lot of melodrama in Tamil Nadu. You put medical entrance exam, they'll kill themselves. You ask them to read Hindi, they'll kill themselves. Come on, man. Melodrama. Those Tamil serials give me a headache. My party, my grandma used to watch it. I would watch it for 3 minutes. I'm like, my God, Esthetha Darshan is easier than this. I cannot synthesize this. This is too much for me. Yeah, all the serials are horrible. I mean, it's easier to do this. We can. This is simpler. I mean, give me the Brahma Sutras, 500 verses, I'm happier with it. I can't deal with it. I can't understand. I mean, why is he doing that? But really, relationships can be intoxicating. Sometimes intellectual pursuits can be very intoxicating for people. There's a story of, I think, Werner Heisenberg. When he was in Princeton, was it Einstein? Maybe Heisenberg. So they say that when he used to walk on the corridor of the university, and if he saw a student or a faculty member, he would ask them, excuse me, am I going towards the library or am I walking away from the library? Okay. You know why? Because the canteen was beyond the library. If he was walking towards the library, it means he has not yet had lunch. If he is walking away from the library, it means he has finished his lunch and he is going back. He was so lost in his problem solving, he could not remember whether he had eaten or not. That is intellectual intoxication. No, Vaito, belly will tell, but he is not seeing it. Like when you're playing football and you get a gash and it bleeds, and you don't realize it. You come back and you see that, abhi maine gash kiya, you'll be howling. Ye tumne kya kar diya? Why did you do that? But do it when the game is happening and you don't notice. So the different faculties in us are, have a tendency to get attuned to some aspect. This is called, in Sanskrit we call it tadakar hona. Tadakar means to blend into that thing. So people who are after profit, tadakar ho jate hain. Sometimes you wonder, somebody's had 10,000 crores. Why does he want more? Basically, he doesn't want more. He has become tadakar in the counting, and it will never go. It will never go. He will continue and continue and continue till he is dead. And if he survives after his death, which he is going to by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, okay, he will continue. Okay. Spiritual intoxication is very hard to come by. There are some people who can be. So you see, you can be intoxicated in each one of these four domains. So money is one of them. And money is not a domain by itself, but because money holds the promise, like you read on your note yesterday, it is the promise that you can get something. We have a very deep-rooted assumption that having money is the answer to my comprehensive well-being. There is somewhere this unsaid, unwritten assumption that I have that money is the answer to my ills, and that assumption basically ensures that I then go after money. When I know it is going to be not just money but many other things, I'm going to go after those things. Okay? Yeah. On it? Yeah, just tap it. Yeah, it's working. Maybe I'll just pull up the game. Yeah. Try. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Should be fine. Bully.
We are talking about Tadakar.
Yeah.
We have heard about Mahavir. He became Tadakar with plant.
With?
With plant.
With plant. Yeah, the story. Yeah.
He remained forever like that, or he came back. What exactly happened?
But yeah, for some days we leave all the Mahan people out. Mahavir is a very Mahan person, and maybe we'll discuss that over tea or coffee. Yeah. Yeah, so for our purposes, what Tadaka really means is losing yourself in some aspect on some subject. And here, what we will try and do, or what we need to do, is become Tadaka on reality. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. We're not really trying, but kind of getting a glimpse of what exists. Okay, so this is where we've reached so far. So that's really the method of study. We'll keep it in mind. For those of you who attended maybe some other versions of the Jeevan Vidya James Bond series, would have heard only what is naturally acceptable, but that's one small part of what needs to be done. Because when it comes to understanding myself and also studying existence, you have to study existence. There's nothing naturally acceptable about a neem tree. It's there and you have to study it. Okay. It will become an acceptance, but much later. But we'll get to that. So that's one. So let's proceed with this. I just thought we'd set the. Yeah. That's nicer. That's too loud and okay. So when we studied, I'm going to keep this here. So will keep we will come back to it. So this is the listening. So far, as a group, we've done very well. We've listened. We've not had too many back and forth on, but this is not like this and this is not like that. So okay, so we summary on the human needs, and this is what we found. And the most one of the most important attributes that we see here is that this does not have weight, and this has weight, and this will be handy for us when we proceed. So we'll go ahead and based on the activities of the human being. So we'll now try and understand some of our daily activities. Okay, and this is going to help us discern. Discernment का मतलब अलग करना. ये अलग है वो अलग है. You and he, she are different. He and he are different. इसका मतलब है discernment ourselves from the body. Okay, so there are two sets of activities, and let's do this little exercise. There are intentional or purposeful activities that I am responsible for doing, and there are automatic or not purposeful activities which I am not responsible for performing, but they are anyways happening. There are some activities that I do that I know I am taking responsibility for, and there are some activities you're poor at. And my experience of being a human being is the compound experience or expression of these two. For instance, heartbeat. Does it happen on its own? Do you need to beat your heart? No. Do you set the frequency of your heartbeat? No. Okay. When you see somebody you like, dil dhadakta hai, wo hota hai. But that's not very intentional. The same dil will not dhadko after 5 years. It's gone. It's temporary. It's a small spike. It goes away. Doesn't happen. Okay. So we'll do that here. So maybe Suraj, you two are the youngest here in the room. If you can come here and we can just make a small list. So there were some aspects here which I just wanted to quickly comment on before we proceed. So integrity again is an emotional need, getting blessings of others, okay, nurturing intelligence, prestige, recognition, comfort. Comfort is also okay. Somebody wanted to be blank-minded. It's possible, but very difficult. You'll have to do one of the three sadhana methods and shut down three levels of activities in the self, which we will take up day after tomorrow. Very few people have been able to do that. She stays in a place where somebody did that, but nobody's been able to do that since. So somebody called Ramana who stayed there in Tiruvannamalai, and he was able to shut down. Yeah. So here we're not talking of shutting down, but keeping it on in the right way. Major difference. Okay. So for those of you who've studied some traditional or Vedantic text or believe in that or pursue it, that has been one of the or the central objective was to shut down and not have any thoughts and not have any desires. It's possible. I met somebody who was able to do that. When you're physically heart track, yeah, 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 yeah. That's not a shutting down, that's actually removal of focus of attention. Having a blank mind can happen for very brief periods of time, like when we blank out in the classroom. All of us blanked out when we were in school, right? The teacher's teaching something and we are blanked out. It's just like overwhelmed by what is being said. है ना एक तो काहे को बोल रहा है इतना क्यों बोल रहा है I didn't need so much I just came here to spend 8 days what the hell है ना why do we have to do all this like a blank out when you're overwhelmed intellectually but that's good to do that one blanking out happens at this level at what is the experiential level which is called the man and so what happens is when the body is put through a lot of stress the man you don't have a word for the man in English because they never thought of man. Every language only has words for those things that it thought of. है ना? The English में there is a word for the pig. It's called pig. But there is no word for the buddhi because they never thought of what is buddhi. बुद्धि के लिए शब्द ही नहीं है. Whiskey सोचा है. स्पिरिट सोचा है, स्पिरिचुअल है ना, पर नहीं है. Anyways, so man. So what happens is when the man is totally entangled with the body, the faculty of thought. This is the faculty of thought. All right, and this is the faculty of visualization or understanding. Okay, understanding through visuals. Okay, visual imagery. Let me just put it that way. These kind of blank out because this has got totally entangled with this, the panting and the the breath that I'm taking in our current state of awakening. I mean that's why it happens. Which is why after it settles down, this starts. And then these images also start flowing. I need to go back. I ran too much. Okay, how much is it going to cost to get back? Why did I come here? ये सब चालू हो जाएगा. Won't go off. In fact, when we go into deep sleep, all three go off. So we are going through a blank mind every night, whether we like it or not. I mean, that's when we feel really rested in the state of deep sleep. If we've been seeing dreams through the night, then we don't feel rested. Okay, and there is a reason for that which we can. Okay, so that's really the yeah 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 experiencing. We'll be taking it tomorrow. Five. But we'll study three nicely and we'll leave the rest two for some other day. I mean, we'll take them up very, we give it some light treatment. ऐसा ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. By lunch tomorrow, we'll get there. We're first trying to separate the mind and the body to see whether it's even separately discernible. Yeah, using some simple reflection. So that's what we'll do now. Huh? May or may not be. Is that a question or is it an answer? It's a question and answer. Yeah, mind. Let's keep the mind in the body till lunchtime tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. Let it be there. We'll all be happier with that. Yeah. नहीं, चित्त को माइंड बोलेंगे. मन एंड माइंड राइम, इसलिए मन को माइंड बोल देते हैं. हाँ? उनका लैंग्वेज है, लेट देम डिफाइन इट. क्या लगता है? You think Oxford should also be teaching this or should it not be? Should Oxford be teaching this? We should be teaching it to Oxford. Oxford has taught enough. पेट भर गया. Okay, our activities. So there are two activities. सब झगड़ा कर रहे हैं. Harvard, this their president, first African American president of Harvard University, made some statement about this war. So University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, Harvard, and some third one I forgot. The UPenn president had to resign. She said something politically incorrect. She had to get off. Right. Then Claudine Gray, that's her name, the current Oxford. सब news से मैं बता रहा हूँ. First African American this thing. So she too came under a lot of pressure. Now 14 faculties have written that half of her work has been plagiarized from other faculty members. Harvard University का president है and copy किया है, टोपा है ना copy. Like Nathu copied moral science from me when I was in grade 6. Yeah, just copied stuff. किधर से they'll talk of mind and ethics. Let them have their whiskey and sleep for tonight. We'll come back to them. Mind बोलता है दारू पी के सो जाते हैं. No one get very far. Okay. So we have two sets of activities: intentional or purposeful. Intentional or activities that are purposeful. Okay. And then we have activities that are automatic, where I don't have to do anything. Okay. So maybe we can just do it together. You all can start and I will write it here. Okay. Start anywhere. Any automatic activity that happens in you or intentional activity. Huh? Breathing. And we'll give preference to the people who are attending the workshop for the first time. If they are quiet, then we'll let everybody else talk because बाकी सब लोग आंसर पहले से पता हो गया ना. It's like, yeah, but I'll read breathing. Yeah. And first timers or those who have attended the workshop before but haven't done this activity in the workshop. Anybody, because once you've done it, it's a little easy to intention is sleeping. Okay. Can you sleep on intention or does sleep happen? Like, can you move your hand right now? You can, but can you go to sleep right now? Based on the purpose. So I'll write sleeping. Okay. But we'll come to it. Does sleep come to you? Like if you haven't slept, like I'm sure sleep came to him last night. You're looking so weak. I don't think he wanted to sleep or something. He just slept. Yeah. When we haven't slept 2 nights in a row, when we've had a long journey, when you're very tired and you just collapse and sleep. Does it happen on intention or basically automatic? नींद आ जाती है. I mean, we reach a point beyond which we feel now it is impossible to keep my eyes open. Prior to that, we will feel now it is impossible to think or do anything. Right? We just be heavy. And then it will reach a point in time where we just switch off. So is sleep happening to me or do I intentionally go to sleep? Sleep happens. Sleep doesn't come. So you can fall on the bed intentionally. So let's put it that way. Falling on the bed. Okay. Lying on the bed. Exercise. Okay. Daily chores. Okay. Head massage. Eating. Huh? Hunger. The feeling of hunger. So hunger. Feeling. Yeah. Thirsty. Feeling thirsty. Okay. Hunger, feeling thirsty. Natural call. Okay. So, call of nature, but who will finally have to decide whether to go or not to go, and whether to go, then how to go. Limit. You cannot stretch it beyond the point. So, there is a physical limit. इसके बाद बर्दाश्त नहीं होगा. I don't care what people think. I'm just going to go here. अभी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. Right. So there is a physical constraint there. There is a material constraint, but you can override it within that constraint. Correct? Anything else that we do, work or profession. So the chores will take care of that. Daily chores or profession. Sometimes we do the chores for free. Sometimes we get paid for it. I sleep my house. It's a chore. I sleep your house. You pay me for it. बोलिए. Huh? Falling in love. Okay. Falling in love. Automatic. Huh? Marriage. Intentional or automatic? But you know, in marriage you'll get two options, right? One was uh, pre-decided. I mean, you've decided that you want to get married. But even when you decide, you have the option to walk away, which you didn't exercise. So whether it was pre-decided, I mean, decided में इतना ही है ना, by me, by others. But it is anyways being decided, and you went with the decision. So the only difference between so-called love marriage and arranged marriage is who's making the decision. Did I make it? That we have to be together? Did somebody else make it for me? But you had the choice to walk away. Mandap mein, before the 7th para, 6th मैं जा रहा हूँ. I cannot take it away. You can do that. But you didn't. You went through all the 7. है ना? तब तक है लास्ट. क्रिश्चियन मैरिज में 3 बार बोलते हैं ना, आई विल मैरी, आई विल मैरी, आई विल मैरी. नहीं, एक बार नहीं. उधर दे आस्क द ऑडियंस, डज एनीबॉडी ऑब्जेक्ट? तो पहले से यूल टेल योर फ्रेंड, तू बोल दे उसको बोल आई ऑब्जेक्ट है ना. आई कांट से इट माय सेल्फ. Then the bride may kiss the groom may kiss the bride. इधर क्या तो शादी टूट जाएगा. Cultural connotations. Yeah. So, but really, we decided to go with it, and you're also deciding to continue in it. You can still walk away. People do that once in a while. Yeah. Basic tendency to follow. Yeah, we'll come to that. But right now, we just want to separate the different activities that we have, and then we'll also analyze it. Traveling. Anger and jealousy. Automatic. Want to put it there? But do you think anger is contextual? I mean, and no, you don't like your boss, it's your first day at work, would you still show anger? You'll feel inside. Sometimes you won't even feel in a particular context. When you know you're going to get a bonus, then it may not even arise. When there is a benefit to being there, that overrides your dislike. Yeah? पैसा मिलने वाला है. How can you get angry if the man is going to give you a bonus? नहीं आएगा. You'll end up liking everything about them. Huh? It's not a true feeling. But what I'm trying to get to is anger is not that automatic. And we'll study anger a little more. Calculated. Sometimes when you show it deliberately, like when we do to a child or somebody at work, and you display the anger because otherwise there is no other way to get the job done. That time it is calculated. जानबूझ के हम दिखाते, मतलब लाते अपने अंदर, एक्टिंग ऐसा अमिताभ बच्चन लाता पिक्चर में वैसा. What about other activities? I mean, things like thinking. Nobody's thinking here. Everybody's just walking and falling in love and getting angry and thinking. Huh? Overthinking. Over and under, but thinking. What about other activities that we do? Huh? Creating feelings. So we have thinking. Hmm? Feelings, emotions. So anger, jealousy, emotions. We'll come there. Huh? Fears. Fears. Fear, Anna. Automatic or intention? State of being. But is something happening inside also an activity? Like if you take the state before anger, the state during anger, and state after anger, some activity has happened, right? It can be. We'll get there. Right now, we just want to do some basic classification. Comparing, doing comparison. Who's analyzing? Acha, you are. Yeah, thinking, analyzing. Planning. Hmm? Ideas. Ideation. Like a business idea. Like Elon Musk or what is it, Jeff Bezos or intuiting. What do you think is the difference between the, we've got three different colors. I think I'm a fourth one. We've got three colors, so I used of three. There are actually four categories there. What do you think are the differences? I've also kind of tried to position them at different places. So let's take the easy one. What's common between all of these? Breathing, sleeping. What about other activities that are happening? Digestion? Hmm? Anything else? Huh? Blood circulation. Nice. Immune response. That's a nice one. Reflexes. Enzyme secretions, huh? Sensing, right? Thyroid hormone secretion, basically hormone, enzymes. Like when we eat, do you decide which enzyme has to be secreted when? Or does it happen on its own? Happen on its own? Do we have to decide it? When we eat, can you manipulate it? Can you manipulate your own enzymes? Yeah, you're just adding it. But can you control whether it will be absorbed or not? Like everybody takes iron. People take iron and calcium supplements. Most of it is pissed off. You just urinate it. It doesn't get absorbed. It's not bioavailable. Sorry? Hearing. So that's interesting. So there's hearing, and there's another word called listening. What is the difference between hearing and listening? You're picking up the meaning of what is being said. In hearing is just a sound. Yeah. So what's written here is यहाँ क्या लिखा है? Listen, not just hear. You have to listen. So when in listening, we're looking at the meaning or the import, the intent of what is being said. Right? So if you look at these activities, there's breathing, there's sleeping. Let me just stick it. So there's breathing. We'll come back to sleeping, but there's really digestion, heartbeat, blood circulation, immune response reflexes, hearing of sound, hormone and enzyme secretion, and the working of the senses. These are happening only in body, and I have no control over them. Some more examples: growing of hair, hair growth, graying, right? Growing of nails, growing old, shriveling up. Yeah, you have no control over them, but it happens. Shriveling, मतलब सिकुड़ना, skin का सिकुड़ना is called shriveling. So there are these activities which are basically the body. So the activities that are happening only in the body are the ones that are automatic, that make part and parcel of the experience of being a human. But I have no ability to influence or control it. I mean, I can try and manipulate it by taking a thyroid pill, etc. But when it's happening in the body, and even when I manipulate it, it is a body that is really deciding, the body system that it deciding, so to speak, how much to keep and how much not to keep. We are trying to influence it, but it will take chemical pathway. You can't influence the chemical pathway itself. You can identify the chemical pathway and try and make an intervention or give it more or less. For those people who have diabetes, for example, type 1 diabetes, less insulin is being secreted, they'll give it insulin. So there's one set of activities which is part of our existence that we do not control. It happens on its own. Like you grow big, we don't decide to become this tall. I never thought I wanted to be tall, but not this tall. I don't fit into the damn berth, the Indian, train. 2 inch कम होता था, I could have slept on the sleeper side also. I can't sleep on the side berth. You can't be 6 feet and travel in the northeast. It will be hell. Because everybody is short, the buses are short, and the seats are very narrow. So when I traveled in the northeast, my foot would be like this. So traveling from Guwahati to Tripura was like a torture. So I paid for 3 tickets, and I was sitting like this. Okay? And the bus started filling up, and somebody said, "पैर इधर करो." I said, "भाई साहब, मैंने 3 टिकट लिया है, मेरा पैर आता नहीं, है ना?" So it was a lady, not a भाई साहब. She looked at me and she said, "तुमने 3 सीट ले लिया तो क्या सीट तेरा बाप का हो गया क्या?" And she came and sat on my foot. And I was 26 and I thought I'm going to get murdered now. They'll think I'm harassing her or something. I said, "उठो." She said, "पहले तो पैर उठा." I mean, who said women are oppressed and all that? Come on, man. Hey, give it back to you. They'll oppress you if they have to. They can harass you. So, these activities are happening only in the body. I've put it in black here. There are some activities that are happening only in the cell. Which one? Only in the self, in me, that I experience directly and influence directly. Let's take those. intuition, learning, ideation, planning, judging, thinking, comparison, imaging, emotions. Only in self. I have a neater chart somewhere on the slide, so I'll pull that up. This will become a little cluttered. And now we have some activities in which the decision is happening in the self, but it is being executed via the body, where both are involved. And what are these examples? The ones that we have in black here. So, for example, lying on the bed is a decision I can take, but sleep will have to come via the body. The body shuts down, actually, the brain shuts down. So, when we go to sleep, there's actually a change in the electrical state of the brain, and that's decided by the brain and the body. You can't willfully fall unless you've tried you worked on some very specific, sadhanas and all that, which are not necessary. There are easier ways to go to sleep than to spend 20 years practicing something to go to sleep at will. I mean, you'd rather put those 20 years doing something more useful. So, lying on the bed, exercise. Can you exercise in your mind? No, but you have to decide. Your body cannot on its own start lifting dumbbells. You have to do it, and every time I choose that I'm going to continue. And even when there is pain, I decided, to take like one more and one more and one more, one last more till I have reached the limit of the body at that instant. And then I decide, I make up my mind saying I'm going to increase the ability of the body to do push-ups and pull-ups and run. So I start with 1 mile or 1 kilometer, make it 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there is a limit based on the, ability of my specific body type. Okay. Like certain demographies, certain states in our country, the way the body is made there are more suited for sports. You will find a Kerala football club, you will find a Goa football club, you will find a Bengal football club, you have a Pune FC, you have Mumbai FC, you don't have Gujarat football club. Huh? Gujarat organizes it and sells the tickets. So we'll also get there. I mean, maybe on T. It's not part of this, but by studying this, how are we then able to see or understand what's happening out there? But really, this is happening in the self. And exercise, daily chores, eating. I decide to eat. The hand. I mean, once you start, it continues, but then we also stop. We know when to stop. In fact, we're making choices all the time. This meal, in the 3 or 4 things that's kept, somebody's taking more rice, somebody's taking more chapati, somebody's taking more, good, somebody's taking more of the puri, somebody's taking more of the achar, somebody's taking only fruits. That's a choice I'm making. But I need the body to fulfill that. And my ability to eat is limited by the satiation level of the body and the state of the body at that time. खाने का मन हो रहा है, but I'm too full and I can't eat. In fact, my ability to even wanting to eat is defined by the status of the body. The impulse of wanting to eat. If you're running 104 fever and somebody puts rasmalai in front of you, you won't be able to eat it. In fact, you wouldn't want to look at it. I give you burnt garlic fried rice when you have 104 temperature. You throw up. Spice smelling garlic when you have a fever is very bad. I was somewhere, I had a high fever and somebody was roasting garlic. I wanted to run away from there. That's when I realized viral fevers and garlic don't go together. Okay, so we'll see why that happens. But really, right now, there are some in which both are involved. Both what? Where you have to do something via the body. But where there is only a mental action taking place, it's happening only in the self. You don't need the express involvement of the body to do it, to execute the result. Then you need the body. But here, to do these activities, you cannot do it without the body. Like you cannot go to sleep by yourself. You need the body to go to sleep. दोनों चाहिए. Sleeping is one rare example where the self, I, can override the body, but within the boundary of the body. And then you can also put it like people who do night duties, people who are driving. I have a friend who's a airline pilot. He has to sleep and wake up at odd hours, and he's just gotten used to it. I can't do it. But there is a limit, and then he too needs a break. Yeah, 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 yeah. Huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Starting like the 31st of December, it will start. New Year gift. It happens even now. Like when you're dreaming, eh? The only one. मैं तो धारवाड़ घूमने आया था यार. तुम what the hell are you doing? Like even when we dream now, what really is happening? Are we even cognizant of the body and the body state when dream is happening? Let's take a simple example. Let's forget the answer for now. Okay, it doesn't matter because, like I said, you have to verify. Till then, it's something you're still testing. Everything that goes in is something you will have to validate, and then you have to check whether it makes sense put together. My answer is coming from having already put it together and found it to be true. Okay, I put together the entire thing since many years. All right, but for you, it's just an input. So you have to go and verify. But to help that case or to help us assess that, if we examine the state of dreams, of dreaming, what is happening? Do you have a sense of the body when you're dreaming? No. Do you have a sense of time, of location, the feeling? Yeah. So the feelings are still there. That's what I said. But there's no sense of, the task that you have to do in the day. You have to go at 5 o'clock to the bank. You don't know where you are. There's no recognition that I'm in the house, on the bed. I had to pay the EMI. Next month EMI is pending. Nothing. What I had for dinner. Paneer digest nahi ho raha hai. Jada kha liya. Nothing. That thought would have happened after I ate. But once sleep hits me and I go into the state of dreams, the body has taken over managing the paneer. It is, trying to muscle the paneer through or whatever it is that I ate that I shouldn't have eaten. But I am off. And if the acid level in the body becomes so much that it comes out, then I woken up rudely saying I need to throw up now. Or the acid has become so much that the acid level regurgitates, right? GERD. Some of us may have GERD, gastric esophageal reflux disease. It wakes me up. We call it acidity, but basically it's GERD. Acid to high, 2.5 pH mein, stomach. Very acidic.
Is it the body controlling that I do not fall off the bed
The self. Well, which is why children fall off, but as we grow up, we don't do that so much. If the body doesn't control, you're not falling off. It's a setting with the body during sleep. Yeah, so the self has a very low level, kind of in science or engineering terms, you'd call polling of the body. So, which is why if the name is called out, we wake up. In that, if somebody calls out your name, you wake up. If somebody calls out somebody else's name, you won't wake up. If somebody shouts fire, we may wake up. If somebody says sweet, we may think it is happening in my dream. है ना, मिठाई खाओगे वो ड्रीम के साथ जुड़ जाता है. So one easy way to test that is when you go to sleep tonight, when you wake up in the morning, when you wake up, don't open your eyes. You've woken up, but don't open your eyes. Keep the eyes shut and don't do anything. If you're lucky, yeah, the dream may continue. You're actually awake, and now you know that you're awake, and that dream is continuing, and you know it's a dream. But when you're in the dream, you don't know it's a dream. The other interesting thing about dreams is when you're in the dream, you can't remember the waking state. This state we are in, this is called Jagrat, awake state. But when you're in the awake state, you can remember the dream. And when you're in deep sleep, which is called Sushupti, you can't remember either of them. Switch off, I cease to exist. Not possible to get out of the dream. Yeah, because you don't like the dream and you want to get off. So that's actually only the mental activity happening. The body is not waking up. The brain actually the brain wakes up and the brain is not waking up. Yeah, some we forget. So the random ones we don't remember. Maybe some recurring ones or very intense ones. Like I told you, I've had one or two ones that would keep recurring and I remember them. They don't come anymore. Did you see that person after that? Yeah. So, yet you kill the person. That's why I asked you, did you see them again after that? Yeah. Yeah. No, so in coma, what's happening is it's a state where the brain is dead. So brain death is a very technical medical term. Coma is a layman's term that we use, and doctors have a way of declaring somebody to be brain dead, which means that there is no hope or scope for them to come back to being. Whereas the body will still keep functioning. So you're on a ventilator, and there was a nurse in a Bombay hospital that was kept alive for almost 28 years. That way, 28, 30, 31 years. That way, okay. So what happens there is the self is actually kind of in a state of suspension. With the human body, some of the activities like experiencing and thinking and visualizing, they actually happen with the brain. So when the corresponding brain region is damaged due to disease or an accident, these activities are not able to function. So what the self is actually, or the mental aspect, right now we've not named it yet, is actually experiencing at that time is something like being in a continuous state of deep sleep. It's a deep sleep. It's like they went to sleep and they never awoke. Uthai nahi. That's one possibility. There's another possibility which we'll come to later, but that will spook us. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said. So it's possible that the self, you'll have to take that mic because we're not using that cordless mic. And since we paid for it, you might as well take the vasool.
The self take the decision that I should take this body because it is no more to divide. So why does it not take that kind of decision to leave the body?
Actually, the self doesn't decide to leave the body. It's not possible for a deluded self. Like we spent the first day talking about the second day, we said we have beliefs in almost every aspect of our living, right? And I use the word delusion and illusion. I would use two words. So in a state of delusion, many of our actions. For example, we don't even know. See, this is put together as me. I mean, just look at this. This whole thing is me. Yeah? This whole thing, it describes any human being. And I have no clue that there are some things that are, I think I'm this. I think it is my heart, my kidney. Uh, somebody praises my face, I become very happy. Somebody says you have a lovely nose. लोग खुश हो जाते हैं. I mean, we'll see that. I mean, we're so entangled with the body that we can't really imagine something other than that. Whereas with a little bit of time, what does it take? 45 minutes of observation? How much time have we spent on this? Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours? Huh? Very less. We get some glimpse that it's not that simple. There are some things that are happening on their own. There are some things that I am doing myself. There are some things that I have to do along with the body. So till this state of delusion exists, it's not possible to willfully leave the body unless and until the body has ceased to have a heartbeat. Where it's no longer possible. It's like a car, you can't, it's impossible. Engine breakdown ho gaya. Now you can no longer sit and, turn the car on. Till it is still rickety and creaky, you can still turn. But after some point in time, there's no way you can restart the car. It's gone. It has to be trashed. It's been extended enough. Last night, there's this American physicist, African American, called Neil deGrasse Tyson, studied at Cornell, well-known cosmologist and physicist. He was, talking about the advances in science, and that in the past, he said, so I think he said in the past 20 years, we've been able to extend our lifespan by 20 years. The average human life expectancy has been extended because of scientific progress. Because they're not dying of blood pressure and diabetes, and they're able to extend it by 5 and 8 years. So he said we will reach a point where every year you will be able to extend your life. The previous year, the advance in science would have been enough to extend your life by 1 year. When that happens, you've reached immortality. ये बोल रहा है वो, okay? हम लोग बुद्धू लोग, we failed in physics, we don't know science, we are just ordinary people, agyani. Do you think that the human body, which is made up of mass and muscle and blood, can be indefinitely extended? No. क्या बोल रहा है? He's just giving a statistical answer. It's just mathematics. Okay, I mean that's how divorced he is from the reality of his own body and its functioning. How is that even possible? Just so what is happening? I'm thinking. Analysis says that I can actually, so the statistics is giving that answer, but that's not reality. Okay, so really these two. So let's see what we have. So we have all our activities that are intentional, activities that are automatic, activities that are happening by themselves, and I do not take responsibility for them. I am not responsible for these activities, but they happen with my consent. For example, breathing. You can stop the breath, you can make it long, you can make it go from one nostril, make it go from another nostril, but once you let go of the attention, it goes back to breathing where it was. Okay. Digesting. Again, digesting, actually, I cannot even interrupt digestion. Organ functions, the working of the kidney, the pancreas, gallbladder is not within my control. We can maintain it. So we give it what it needs from outside by eating healthily, by exercising. वो करने के बाद भी if it doesn't secrete insulin, you can't do anything. The secretion of the hormones, the blood flow, the pumping, the heartbeats is all done by the body. And we take insurance for it. बोलता मेरा heart insured है. So when you take insurance, it is your organ that is insured, not mine. You can't go and say all the hearts are the same. इसका कर दो. No. So there is an identity with it, but it's still different because you have no control over it. Like we have control over what style of haircut to take. No control over the color of what comes out and whether it comes out or not. I mean, now they're doing some, I don't know, some implantation and all that to get it out. But there is a limitation. Like the guy I think who most changed his physical appearance is probably Michael Jackson. है ना? माइकलाल जय किशन बोलते थे हम लोग. माइकलाल जय किशन. Because of racism. There's no other reason for him to change what he looked like. So that's that. And these are activities that are being done knowingly, and I take responsibility for them, saying, I am doing this. I am seeing, I am talking, I am listening, I'm eating, walking, scratching, chewing, studying, thinking, dreaming, desiring, and getting angry. You can't say the body got angry. I am getting angry. I could not help it, but I have to take responsibility for it. This is a big, big, big shift. Okay? This goes very deep. This is mind-brain theory. Basically, from the materialistic viewpoint, there is no responsibility that the human being takes. He brings everything down to the body, whereas a very simple observation tells us that's not so. One of the things that I put up as a question mark on the second day was called the hard problem of consciousness. Come up with a New Zealand philosopher, scientist, whatever, but this is why that body count is 120. Because I'm not taking this, I think it is a bodily need, and then I feel bad. Okay, so this is a big shift that breathing, some of them, like breathing happens with my consent. Once I've decided to breathe, it continues. Or if you decide to stop now, you can stop. You can stop it within the bounds of the body, but you can stop it right now. Exactly. And that's fine. So but there are some that organ function, you can't stop your pancreas from secreting insulin. There can be some mental psychosomatic states that affect some organs in your body. For example, people who undergo a lot of stress end up with weak hearts. People who fall in love have a very high heartbeat. When you go and sit for the entrance exam, the heart, you can almost hear the heart beating. It's like pumping. So the effect of the mind on the body, of the self on the body is there because there is an impact via the brain into the heart. Which is why people who undergo a lot of stress are developing lifestyle diseases, high blood pressure. Either affect हो रहा है, but you can't control the outcome. वो अपने आप हो रहा है. That's just called psychosomatic. Like I gave you this example of this guy who developed cancer of the organ. And what did they do to fix his cancer? It was documented. I read it in a book, and the guy wasn't lying. American doctor, I forgot his name, MD. They changed the behavior of the people in his house to, solve his cancer. I just hope it's not on. Sorry. Hello? हाँ मैं बाद में कॉल करूँ, मैं को सेशन में. हाँ, थैंक यू. My house in Pune is locked. Everybody's gone out. They're traveling. They've gone to see Vallabhbhai Patel. Yeah, so I just thought maybe it's somebody outside the house trying to get in or give something. Okay, this is clear for now. Okay, we'll get a glimpse now. So if we represent the human being, we can now say that the human being is actually the coexistence of a mental aspect which we're calling as a self, which I call as an I take responsibility for this, and a material aspect which is a body. So the mental aspect of self is the entity that takes responsibility for the activities that are performed. The body is a set of activities that are occurring without the active participation of the self, but with the consent of the self. Some of them, like breathing, etc. But digestion, etc. is happening automatically in the body. And to be able to see this, I don't need to do any exercise. I just have to pay attention. Once I start observing it, then both start looking different. Once I start paying attention to it, Okay, and if I pay sufficient attention to it, they'll both start seeming distinct to me. Before that, I can't make the distinction, so both are the same. तो उसमें क्या हो जाता है? I am equal to the body, which is why I admire myself in the mirror, even when it's not needed. Have you seen people in the toilet? They come there to take a bathroom break, and after that, they sit there, stand there, admiring themselves in the mirror. You came here to do something else. Go out. He starts doing this in front of the mirror because he thinks I am the hair, and but you didn't do anything for that. And hence you need not feel so great about it or feel so bad about it, because this is you. This is natural. How you look was dependent on how your parents looked, and how your parents looked was dependent on how their parents looked, and their parents looked, and their parents looked. And the combination of certain chains in, the chromosomes, X, Y, and all that. We know all that. I am not good looking or I am too good looking or average looking is an emotion that all of us go through since childhood. And it matters sometimes more than the marks we get or we don't get. Right? Our state of being, self of success. Where was this? I had somebody say it recently. He has a friend who studied at IIT with him, is now an Indian Administrative Services Officer, IAS officer, but I remember who said that. And he's 5'2" only, and he feels very, low on confidence because of his height. And this guy said he met him recently because they were classmates, and he says he still has that feeling, it still hasn't gone away. IIT में पढ़ लिया, कलेक्टर भी बन गया, हाइट नहीं बढ़ रहा है, नहीं बढ़ेगा ना. And what can he do? He can't do anything about it. So when we was talking about Tadakara association, you see the mental faculty has the ability to associate itself. I have the ability to associate or dissociate myself from things based just on assumption or understanding or believing. Just say, for instance, we are here in this matha. If you are from Karnataka, you would feel that you are in your house. Okay, if you belong to the lineage that the Guruji of this matha is from, you would feel a little closer to this place than the rest of us. And that emotion, that feeling is entirely mental. There is nothing physical there. There is nothing that connects you physically via a chemical or a plastic bond to that place. True or false? It's entirely mental. And this is the set of activities that we want to explore further, because it is a fundamental aspect of who we are. Okay. So activities of the human being can be represented this way. So this was done in 2007. Let's see what the answers are. We have 3. Only self is involved. Self and body both involved. Body with consent of self. We already did that on the board. Yeah. Thinking, believing, only self. Feeling anger. Feeling anger and showing anger. Self and body both are involved. Eating, walking, dancing, chewing, scratching, shouting. Getting angry before shouting. Okay? Bardasht nahi ho gaya. Body with consent of self. Breathing, heartbeat and batting the eyelids. अपने आप होता है. Do we have to remember to bat the eyelids, or does it happen on its own? It happens on its own. You can keep it open for some time, and then if you do that, you'll say, why are you staring at me? You keep batting it. Okay? Because the staring basically denotes something. When I went to the US for the first time, 20 years ago, my brother had been there about 4 months prior to I reached, and around 7, not 20 years ago. And he said, don't look people in the eye for too long. I had a habit of direct eye contact and continue to, because I would look at people and then a background analysis would start. I would look at kids and a background analysis would start. And he said, don't do that because you'll fall in trouble. And I realized that, we'll get to that. We don't need to get to that. But people don't like being looked in the eye. Especially, I found that through, in my experience, limited experience with African Americans, because if I would do that, they'll say, "What's up, bro?" And I would get scared. I'm like, "Okay, no, nothing is up. I just want to go away," because he's so huge. I mean, even compared to me, he's so huge. I know who pagane lena either. You know. Okay, so again, if you look at eating, if you're only thinking about eating, only the self is involved. I'm thinking about what to eat, only the self. I'm thinking about what to eat and I'm eating, both are involved. Getting angry and expressing it, both are involved. Clear? ठीक है, उसी का सबसेट है. Other than breathing, all of it will come in that. Yeah, digestion and all those, secretion of enzymes. So all our daily activities and functions, if you see it, you can break it down this way. The activities that are happening by themselves, and I cannot take responsibility for them. Breathing, digesting, ache, body ache, blood flow, heartbeat. Only the body is involved. But I get some information back. I mean, the heart doesn't tell me it's pumping blood, but when the BP drops, I get the feeling that something has happened. You feel low, you feel tired, and then you go and check the blood pressure and find the BP is low. And then let's say you have some, coffee. Coffee increases the blood pressure. That's why when you have high BP, then you don't have much coffee. These activities are happening by themselves, and out of the activities which are intentional, there are some that are happening that need both the self and the body, such as dancing, walking, scratching, etc. The decision and control is in me, but it is expressed via the body. Whereas here, the intentional activities only need the self, such as desiring, thinking. So pretty much everything that you experience in the state of dreaming, okay, is happening only in the self. Okay. So that's again brief. So we already did that. Now we will go to the faculty of believing. So we did the needs of the body. We did activities to discern the difference between self and body. We have 2 more left. Let me know when it's time for tea, please. Is it already time for tea? 3 minutes. Anger, jealousy, falling in love in the self. I take responsibility for them. Showing it is with the body. I put it in blue because it currently feels that we don't have control over it. But that's our inability. That doesn't mean it's not happening in me. Like listening to this workshop or reading a book and wanting to understand it is a very intentional decision that I have to make. But when you fall in love, it seems like it just happens. But basically what that means is there is a background set of activities in me I'm not aware of, which is causing that to happen. Usme bahut sara hai. I mean, 100 years from today, in a village in India, you could not fall in love. Nobody fell in love. There was no concept of falling in love. You'd be chased away from the village. लफंगा बोल के ना भगा देते थे. लफंगा आ गया हमारे गांव में. He says he's in love with this girl. दोनों को लड़का देते थे. People had affairs. That was a different thing. वो चलता रहा, पहले से चलता रहा, है ना. But you didn't fall in love. That is different. You are basically getting bored somewhere and नजर और कहीं चले गया. The whole world has had affairs. Known and unknown. Yeah. Reported and unreported, caught and uncaught, detected, undetected. सब हुआ है. But love is a very recent phenomenon. We are allowing people to fall in love. We are talking about falling in love. We are messaging people about love. We are seeing it in the posters. So it grows into your back. It's like an inception that's happening. It is a new concept that's been pushed by the media. And they see my daughter is in grade 8. Our house is fairly well protective, and my brother and he lives with my parents. He has both set of grandparents. It's not like we live in an apartment, and she doesn't get to watch the phone. If she touches the phone, she has to ask me. We'll come to that. The phone. If you're letting your kids use phones, please just stop it. I mean, if you want to. Yeah. Where was I headed to? Yeah. So she came back one day and she asked me in Tamil, Appa, what does crush mean? I said, Beta, what does crush mean? I don't know what crush means. She said, no, when a boy and girl's lip touches, it's called crush. So she didn't know. I said, who told it this to you? She said, there was this boy. She took the boy's name. I know that kid. His father stays in the US and, works in the US since many years. Maybe something is off in the family. And he lives in a fancy apartment complex where he has access to all kinds of information. So this really is a concept that's coming in. When we were in school, when I was in grade 10, there was only one boy who had a girlfriend. And we used to look at him like he was Superman or something. And he can have a girlfriend. And he was actually the son of a police inspector, and his girlfriend was one of our teacher's daughters. So हमको तो लगता था ये तो गया काम. So he's going to die now, right? And this is in what, 1993? Not very long ago. It never occurred to me that I need to have a girlfriend. It was a boys' school, boys' convent school here, St. Ignatius, big ground, and then the girls' school. So the closest you went to the girls' school, or if your football went there, you would wait for it to be thrown back. This is in Pune, and I grew up in a defense enclave, so fairly modern. And but now I hear it's not that. It's a rarity that you don't have somebody when you are in grade 10. So what happened in 20 years? Nothing. Just the culture, the input, the ideation. So पी लिया लोगों ने.
Nowadays, a new trend has emerged in the teenagers, in the school, colleges, and universities. And the concept is posla.
Huh?
Have you heard the term posla?
No.
F-O-S-L. It's a very common terminology. Frustrated, one-sided, lovers, association.
अच्छा.
Very common.
Frustrated, one-sided lovers association.
Two person gets frustrated, he or she joins in the association. So in other words, by this kind of publicity, we are simply promoting this activity.
Frustrated love. Yeah, it's, when I finished grade 10 in my school, we also had 11th and 12th. And it was it was a good school, as schools go. And we had to wear a uniform up to grade 10. And then 11th and 12th, you had to wear a uniform, a cream uniform. And after 10th, you had the choice to go out to junior college outside, which was a co-ed junior college, where there would be girls. So all the boys in 9th and 10th were waiting to get out so they can go for 11th and 12th into, a co-ed college. Ferguson and so many others in Pune, well-known schools and colleges, junior colleges. And I distinctly remember thinking I will not go because one is I am very poor at studies. I mean, it's very hard for me to study. And second, I felt it will spoil my chances. पहले से कम ध्यान जाता है. ऊपर से if there are girls around and I get into all that, I'm going to flunk and then I die. Because I had been told since childhood saying that your only way to survive in this world is to read well and get a job. We are not business. We don't have a business. We don't have money. You're on your own. So as a self-protective, decision, I decided I will not go outside just to protect myself from the temptation. Because I thought, it creates problems. Then of course I found out from some of my friends that it's also very expensive to maintain. We'll stop with that. I mean, how did he break up with his girlfriend? One day in 11th or 12th grade, his girlfriend found a chit, a small booklet in his pocket. जिसमें he had written the hisab kitab of how much had been spent on her till that date. Chalo, we'll have tea and come back.